And good morning, Minecraft. This is Mr. Kasarian,
And this is Tekran.
and welcome to another episode of our server play series. All right, so what are we working on today?
Today, you are teaching me Tinker's Construct and Thermal Expansion.
Awesome. All right. Let me just get
Because
a
I have no clue on either of them.
button and a pressure plate out there so that we're not, letting mobs in every 2 seconds.
Yeah, we've had a bit of a problem with that, especially because, Kasarian doesn't really know how to close a door.
Or, for example, or put a pressure plate in the right place.
No.
There we go. Let me move that button. There we go. Okay, so Tinker's Construct. Let's get started with it. So over here we have our in order starting from near the smeltery. We have the tool station. Yep.
Part builder and pattern chest and stencil table.
Exactly. And for those of my viewers who don't know, the stencil table is actually where you make the stencils. You use the stencils for crafting the pieces of parts that aren't made from metals. So stone, wood, flint, obsidian.
Obsidian?
Obsidian you use the stencils for. You don't melt it. You only melt it when you're actually making like an alloy. And also, oddly enough, a thaumium from Thaumcraft is also done with stencils.
That's probably just because thaumium doesn't have a liquid.
Exactly. Okay, so the pattern chest, you can store all your patterns. And don't worry, we'll get to these casts in a couple minutes. Yeah. The part builder is where you actually build the parts out of your patterns. And the tool station is where you put them all together. Okay.
Okay. So why are there 4 different types of swords?
Okay, so each sword has its own different... Each sword has its own abilities. So your broadsword is basically your standard Minecraft sword.
Mm-hmm.
Right-click to block. High durability, moderate damage.
Yep.
Your longsword is very similar, moderate damage and durability. But if you right-click with it, you actually leap forward a few blocks.
So that's more of a immediate critical hit weapon.
Exactly. Then you have your rapier.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually, the rapier is really cool. It's low damage, low durability. And when you right-click, you actually back away from your enemy.
So this is a defensive.
Right. Well, defensive in a way, but it's also very offensive. Because you have, one, it ignores a certain percentage of armor.
Mm-hmm.
It also hits faster than any other swords. And you actually get an extra bonus to damage when you're charging.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of a more unique weapon. The downside is that against an unarmored target, it's less effective than the other weapons.
Ah.
You also have the cleaver, that requires the tool forge.
Yep.
And the cleaver is very slow striking. I want to say it strikes about a third as quickly as any of the other weapons.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, it deals a huge amount of damage, and it basically has the Vorpal trait. For those of you who are familiar with role-playing games, there's a random chance when you hit of beheading your enemy and auto-killing them.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, the downside is, again, though, you can't block with it, and it's very slow to strike. Actually, it makes fighting creepers a bit entertaining. Yeah, and then you have the dagger, which it's a short blade, low damage. The advantage is if you right-click with it, you actually throw it and can then recover it.
Is it a 100% chance to recover?
I believe so.
Now, why is there a frying pan and a sign?
Well, the frying pan is interesting. You can actually shift right-click to place it down.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually is very effective at cooking food. Because it can cook up to 8 pieces of food simultaneously on one fuel, and it's very efficient at it. It also has, you can block with it, and also it has a bit of knockback to it. And then there's the battle sign, which is a reference to the Vex maps.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember the Vex maps. They were a pain.
Yep, and you remember the battle signs probably.
Yep.
Yep, so yeah, battle signs. Chisel, you can carve shapes into blocks, make cool items. And
Yep.
then there's the bow, the short bow,
Hmm.
and the arrows. So the arrows are very similar to standard vanilla arrows, except you can actually give them different modifications, much like any other T-Con tool.
Yep.
The other cool thing is they are 100% recoverable unless you shoot them into lava.
Well, no, if you shoot anything in the lava, it's gonna blow up.
Right, or the void.
Yep.
They're really cool. They always drop, even if you miss your target. So, yeah. And the same with the bow. The bow can be enchanted as well, or modified. The bow, oddly enough, is the only weapon that can actually be modified with the redstone speed trait. None of the other weapons can. The tools can, but not the weapons. So for the bow, you can fire very quickly with it, with that modification.
Cool.
Yep. Okay, so why don't we make ourselves some better swords? And I think if I open up this, we have 2 Ardite and, well, let's hold off on weapons, actually. Let's hold off on using that. Because I kind of want to get Thaumium before we start making our N-tier T-Con weapons.
Okay.
Instead, how much obsidian do we have?
Probably not enough.
No. So
we only have 3. However, we do have my water bending ability and your giant lava tank.
yeah, so why don't we go make ourselves a bunch of obsidian?
Okay.
Actually, this might be a good time to show everyone a cool item from Thermal Expansion, which is the Igneous Extruder, which those of you who are playing a particular highly popular Skyblock map will be very familiar with. So, do you want to get together the other stuff needed for the Igneous Extruder, and I'll just make the machine frame?
Okay. Because
Alright.
machine frame is a pain.
Well, it's not that bad.
No, I mean, it's not as bad as everything combined.
Yeah. Alright, so we'll be right back once we have our Igneous Extruder put together.
Yep.
Alright, we are back.
Yep. We made the first machine of thermal expansion that I've made, which is the Igneous Extruder.
And we also have the Aqueous Accumulator that I made in the last episode. This is the Aqueous Accumulator, and this is the Igneous Extruder. Now, you guys probably saw this, but the Aqueous Accumulator, the way it works is, it basically functions like if you put a pump, if you're familiar with Buildcraft, over an infinite water source. Except it doesn't actually drain the water. Now, you can just put it out in the world, like that, and it'll slowly accumulate some water. But you can significantly speed it up, and yes, I know I should have used a wrench for that, but I forgot to grab it. You can speed it up by putting it between 2 water sources. So basically where the infinite water source should be, you place your Aqueous Accumulator instead. Okay? Now, the Igneous Extruder is a really cool machine, and let me put it right down here. Alright? As with all, and I mean all of these machines, it can automatically configure itself based on, not automatically, but you can configure it on this tab here. Blue is input. As you see now, we're getting lava and water in. And orange is output. So now if I put my chest down right here, we should get some cobblestone showing up. And this is basically an infinite cobblestone generator. It's not using up any of its lava or any of its water, and it's producing us some cobblestone. What you can also do is switch it to stone. What it'll do in stone mode is it'll actually use up the water, but it won't use up the lava. Remember, in Minecraft, you can make stone if flowing lava hits still water. We'll make smooth stone. But the mode we're most interested in is its obsidian mode. In obsidian mode, it will actually, generate obsidian using 1 bucket of lava and 1 bucket of water. And as we can see here, I have a fair amount of, lava going on in these tanks. So we're going to get ourselves some obsidian, and that'll help us out making some other really cool items in Tinker's Construct. Remember,
So, why does it use up the water is my question.
because it does. Because water's free. And because the team decided that it would.
Okay.
That's the best logic I can think of. All right, so we will be right back as soon as we get ready for the next bit. And we're back. All right, so one of the things we need to do is I have somehow lost all of my TCON books.
Nope, not all of them. 2 of them are right here in the bookcase.
Oh, okay. That's where that went then. I'd forgotten I'd put that bookcase there, actually. That's minorly embarrassing. Okay, so that means I just need that and this. So if you ever lose your books, by the way, all you do is put a blank pattern and a piece of paper, and you get the first materials in you. Put it in your crafting table, you get the second one. Put that in your crafting table, and you get Mighty Smelting. Oh, Mighty Smelting. So what we're going to do, first of all, is I'm going to go over to my part builder, right? And I have some obsidian. I'm going to put that right there. And I'm going to put my tool rod pattern here. And I'm going to pull out an obsidian tool rod. And I get this obsidian shard. That's half an obsidian. So then I get my second obsidian tool rod, because I'm making a sword for myself and for Nick. Nick, what type of sword would you like?
Well, I do have that cobalt.
We should really save that until, because remember, we can't replace tool parts in this version.
Oh, right.
So I'm gonna make a mid-tier alumite set, alumite weapons for us, and then.
Well, then we will go with alumite.
All right, I'm gonna go. Do you want just a broadsword?
Sure.
Okay, so that means we need a wide guard pattern. Awesome. Let's put that. That's your backpack I'm opening. Let's put that in there. Go into our part builder. And we're going to make the wide guard out of paper.
Out of paper?
What paper does is paper allows us an extra modifier. Okay, so for the viewers, every single tool has a specific number, has 3 modifiers base. Certain materials that you make certain parts out of add to the number of modifiers you can have. Now, if I get out materials in you, I believe it's the second one, and I flip through here, let me explain some decent parts to it. So you have all the stuff you can make. Let me get over to paper. Okay. It's very weak, but it can take a lot of modification. So notice what we're looking at here is this, the handle, tool, modifier, and the durability. So if I make the handle out of paper, I take a penalty to my durability of the full weapon. Instead of it being, the normal durability, you'd multiply that durability by 0.3. Okay? However, you don't take as much of a penalty if you use it as either the binding or the guard for a sword. So, other materials also give you bonuses to modification. For example, thaumium gives you a bonus to modification. However, it has a much better, I think it's a 1.2 handle modifier, so it actually increases your durability of your weapon. So it's a much better item to make the tool rod out of versus the guard or the binding. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so let me put that one back, that book back, so I'm at least vaguely organized with myself. Now, alumite isn't just a normal material. All right, well, before we even get to alumite, let's get to something else, which is that we need to make a cast, because if you notice, we need a sword blade, and I want to make that out of alumite, which requires a smelter, but I don't have an alumite cast. So how do we solve this? We make ourselves a cast. Let me just get this stuff out of here. The first thing we're going to need is that wide guard, sword blade, right? That's what they're calling it. Standard sword blade is the sword blade pattern, all right? Then we're just going to make ourselves a cobblestone sword blade. Now, you guys are probably screaming at me already going, Kess, why are you using a cobblestone sword blade? Well, we're just going to put it in the casting table like that, because we need to make a cast or a mold to actually pour the liquid alumite into to get that sword blade. How do we make a mold? We can make it out of gold or aluminum brass, and I already have some aluminum brass handy. Now, aluminum brass is simply 3 copper and 1 aluminum. 3 aluminum and 1 copper. I was getting it backwards.
Yep.
So now we just put our aluminum brass in there, and if we have any lava in the smeltery, which we should actually...
Which I will hop over to the other side and check.
All right.
Yeah, we have 1 3/4 of a bucket.
That should be plenty. There's a sync issue sometimes with the Smeltery controller. It should be showing the fuel status on this bar right here. The bar on the far right.
Yep.
Now, we're just going to wait for this aluminum brass to cook up. Aluminum brass does not take long to cook up at all. It's actually a pretty quick process. Some other materials, like, say, obsidian, take a small eternity to actually cook up.
I didn't know that there was a difference between smelting times between them.
Oh, yeah. Every item has its own unique... There we go. It finally updated for me.
Yep.
Every material has a different smelting time.
Ah.
Iron is different from copper, is different from... Aluminum is actually one of the fastest. Okay. So now we have our molten aluminum brass in there. And Nick, if you could just right-click on that. Thank you. And we get ourselves the cast. And now if you want to actually just put that cast in the pan. Yeah. So now we need to make ourselves alumite. Let's take a look at what we need for alumite. Alumite.
So what should I do with the stone sword blade?
Just throw it in a trash can.
Okay.
Alumite is 5 aluminum, 2 iron, and 2 obsidian. So let's get 5 aluminum ingots. All right, we got 5 aluminum ingots, 2 iron ingots. And we can actually just shift-click those in. And 2 obsidian, but the obsidian block counts as 2 obsidian ingots. All right, so we just need to put 1 obsidian into the smelter. All right, obsidian does have an ingot form. If you open up NEI and you check out obsidian ingot, it actually exists, and it's a TCOM item. So, remember how I said obsidian takes a while to melt down? We're going to actually be back, guys, as soon as it does.
Yeah.
And we're back. All right, so that whole process makes us 3 alumite ingots. And now, we're just going to right-click and pour the alumite into our mold. Twice.
And I am going to collect the blades.
And I'm going to get the last piece of alumite.
And turn it into an ingot?
Yep. And we'll just put that into the T-con chest. Which is right here. And where did the ingot... I had it.
What?
Did you steal my ingot?
No, I did not. Well, while we search for this, I have the alumite in the, or I have the alumite blades in the Tinker's Construct.
All right. So let's just switch this over, and we should take our 2 paper wide guards and our 2 obsidian tool rods and get ourselves a rideable broadsword with reinforced 3. Nice. And its damage does 3.5 hearts, which translates to 9 damage, which is slightly more than this ruby sword I was using.
Make sure that you name it.
I forgot to name it.
Well, then name mine. Or I will name mine.
Let me just close that table so it doesn't derp out. And there we go. So we have now made a Tinker's Construct weapon. Now, there are all sorts of different materials, hidden materials, and other cool stuff, such as the steel I made this pickaxe out of, and the shovel, and yeah. So basically, experiment around, see what combinations work for you guys. I can get rid of that ruby sword now. And yeah, that's the basics of Tinker's Construct. Don't worry, we'll revisit it in a little bit once we get some materials that we can actually modify our weapons with.
As for now, I'm going to go on a killing spree to see how well this weapon works.
And I'm going to start getting us prepped for Nick learning thermal expansion. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are actually going to wrap the episode here. We don't have quite enough time to get involved in thermal expansion yet. But
we'll go around and collect some sand, and we'll record the next episode so that we can upload some more videos.
Indeed. And ladies and gentlemen, before we wrap up, do not forget, 1, throw us some comments and or likes. 2, subscribe to TechRun's channel. Should be in the video description below, unless I horribly forget when I'm uploading. And 3, go check out PsycheonRoa, one of the streamers who also plays on this server, on twitch.tv/PsycheonRoa. Link in the description. Thank you for watching, guys. Happy mining.